Alright, so what we need to do is we need to find the standard form, right, Tiana? Is that what you're asking? Problem like that?
Yeah.
So to find the standard form, first of all, you need to know what the standard form even looks like. Well, the standard form depends on what we're dealing with. If we're dealing with a parabola that's going to go open up or down, then we're going to have x squared equals 4, I'm sorry, I must have up already.
Your eraser is over here.
X minus h squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. Alright? And the reason why I can remember that this is the one when a parabola opens up or down is because my x is squared. And that's very similar to functions, quadratic functions that I've talked about, or that we've dealt with already, when you have your x squared. So that is when you're going to have a parabola that's going to open up or down.
What if it doesn't?
So if it doesn't open vertically, then it opens horizontally.
Yeah. And then it just doesn't have the square?
Nope. Instead, not having the square on the x, now we're going to have the square on the y. So it's going to look like this. Y minus k
Why are you laughing?
squared equals
That's rude.
4p x minus h.
I want her out of this class.
Mr. McLogan. But like the reason how we know that it's vertical is because
It's square.
can't see. Because that is the negative, the 2 is negative.
2 is negative. Where's
The
what's it?
focus. Because you see how the focus
Oh, hold on. You were saying now you want to get to the next part. How do we determine if it's a
Yeah.
vertical or horizontal? Well, yeah. It does say for this problem that we do have a vertex. All right. Remember, a vertex is either the top or the bottom of a parabola, and that vertex is at 0, 0. So we know the vertex is at 0, 0. So now I have pretty much 4 possibilities of a parabola. I could have a parabola that opens up, I could have a parabola that opens down, I could have it opens to the right, or I could have it open to the left. I have all these different possibilities that can happen. The only other piece of information they let us know is, where is the focus? Well, the focus is at -2, 0. So now, if you remember when we're talking about, actually, let's do it over here. If you remember, we were talking about the definition of a parabola. Definition of parabola says you're going to have a vertex, you're going to have a focus inside of your parabola, and then you're going to have a directrix. And the special thing about that relationship was the distance, and that's a bad directrix, the distance from your focus to any point on the parabola was equal to that point to your directrix. So that was an equal distance you had for any point on a parabola. So therefore, remember, your focus has to be inside your parabola. So obviously my parabola has to open up to the left. Right? Because your focus, we're talking about, is going to be inside your parabola. So therefore, I know it's not going to be a vertical parabola, right? I'm going to be using this formula. So a couple things we need to remember. A couple things we need to remember. The center is h comma k, and since our center in this point is 0, 0, we can say it's going to be y minus 0 squared equals 4p times x minus 0, right? I just wrote this in. You can obviously skip through that, but you can obviously see where that is. And now, remember, the distance from your vertex to your focus is p, and the distance to your vertex to your directrix is also p. So I need to determine here, what exactly is my distance? Well, I traveled a distance of, one thing we're looking at, when we take our center and I want to find the vertex, it's going to be where is it, my h coordinate plus p. Well, what did I just add? What actually was my value of p? If I took h plus p and I get -2, then I have 0 plus has to be a -2. This has to be rewritten. If I want to find my focus, the definition of the focus for a horizontal is going to be h plus p comma k, right? Right? So if h is 0 and I have to add p to get -2, p then has to be -2. So I can say p equals -2. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in a -2 and for p, and I get y squared equals 4 times -2 times x. Y squared equals -8x. And that would be my final answer. Questions?
How'd you get the -2 again for p?
Okay. So remember, you have two distances. You have a vertex, right? The distance from your focus, okay? Here's your center, h comma k. To always find your vertex, you're always just to find the focus, you do h plus p comma k. The directrix is going to be x equals h minus p. All right? So for the focus, you're adding the p value. To the directrix, you're subtracting the p value, and you're actually doing that to your h coordinate of your center. So what I need to do is if I said h plus p, well, where is my focus? My focus was -2, right? So think about it this way. I said, so really it's 0 plus p equal a -2, right? Because I figured out that distance was -2. So what does this have to be? Well, obviously you can just, 0 doesn't even cancel out. So p equals -2. So that's why I automatically got p is -2, so I just plugged it in. Make sense?
Is this like your distance from the center to the foci?
Your focus is your distance from your center to your foci. And then it's the same distance, but to find the focus, you add that distance to your vertex, and then you subtract it to get the directrix. And since this is a negative, it's going to be going in the opposite direction. All right, Courtney?
Yeah.
Very good.